Live and pre-recorded, this is the Red Ticket Blues podcast. I am Brian Buckley. This is being recorded on December 14th to hit the internets on December 15th. How's everybody doing? You can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn, Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at Red Ticket Blues. So, it's been a while just hearing my voice solo. There are no guests. It's just me. Are you disappointed yet? I'm sure you are. You're a little disappointed. Well, tough shit. So, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, even if it is just me. So there may be some rambling, some stuttering, some repeating, but you've grown accustomed to that, and you've grown to love it. Admit it. Admit it now. We'll get into the NFL. The week, whatever week this was, 14 is come and gone. It's over. Week 14. There we go, Brian, right on top of it. It's come and gone. The playoff picture is getting a little clearer. We'll discuss that. We'll also jump into the world of Star Wars is returning to our lives, whether you like it or not. Whether you hate it or you embrace it to a just frightening level. It's coming back December 17th. We'll discuss that. We will get into... Now, breaking news. American Pharoah shafted Sports Entity of the Year. We'll discuss that too. Remember, I did that exclusive interview with American Pharoah a few months ago. We'll also talk about a new trend in sports that I don't like, and that is the retirement tour that we don't really want, but, it just happens. I don't want all this attention, but please give me the attention. And we'll also stay in the same... Well, we won't stay in the same sport, but there are some retirement tours in baseball, and we will stay in that sport. What am I talking about? We'll stay in that sport when it comes to PED users being involved in the management of the game and the coaching aspect of the game, and how I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But we begin with the NFL. So let's start with the NFL. All right, where are we going to start with? Let's just go from the beginning. All right, let's just go from the beginning. We'll start with two teams. Well, one team that's basically out of it now, the Chicago Bears. They're done after losing. Robbie Gould missing field goals once again against the Redskins. The Redskins now, they're tied for first place with 24-21 victory over the Bears. So that doesn't help the New York Giants, obviously. We move into Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Cincinnati, obviously. Big setback, losing, what's his name? Andy Dalton. He injured his thumb. Reports are coming out now that he is most likely to return, but it's highly unlikely that he will return before the beginning of the playoffs. And once he went out, they went down the shitter. Well, that's not true. I say that, but no, they actually scored some points, but they ended up losing 33-20. The whole vibe of the game was really... There was not a lot of hope, we'll put it that way. A.J. McCarron, he hooked up with A.J. Green a little bit. A.J. McCarron, listen, guy's got a lot of confidence. Maybe want to choose your words a little carefully after the game, though.
Tom Brady was in the same situation when he had the opportunity, so...
do you want me to slam him there? He's a rookie quarterback coming in to take care of a team that was 10-2 at the time. He wants to use that for motivation, go for it. I would just use your words a little carefully. You're not Tom Brady. We all know you're sort of the same situation, but stop. San Francisco, Cleveland, no one really cares about that game. Johnny Manziel leads his team to victory 24-10. Unfortunately, once again, no one cares. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. Jacksonville, they won this game in just a weird score. You don't see scores like this. You see, with the institution of the reinstitution of the 2-point conversion, you just see different scores these days. And 51-16, that's just something you don't see that often. Not even just the big number 51, but 51-16 doesn't seem right. But they beat Indianapolis 51-16. And Jacksonville's 5-8, Indianapolis 6-7. So NFC East, AFC South, both awful divisions, but those two teams are in it. And Jacksonville Jaguars are pushing, and you know what? They may actually win that division. They got momentum going, so you never know. The Jets, the New York Jets. I had Simon from Yonkers and Mark Mongo on last week to discuss the Giants-Jets aftermath. And it's funny, Simon brought up the comment that Ryan Fitzpatrick is becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the Jets. And, I didn't really say anything. I sort of just said, oh, well, that's interesting. I don't know about that. I think I said that in my head. And Mark sort of thought, really? And then you start to see it. The Jets still need some help. 8-5 may not do... That may, they don't control their own destiny at this point. They took care of business with the Titans, who were just god-awful. They didn't even look like they cared. I mean, do they know there was a football game going on? But the Jets, it's impressive. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brandon Marshall. Boy, how much? I want to know, where does he stand in yards after reception? I mean, he's been Joe Bedingo and Evan Roberts talked about who's the MVP of the team this year, and it's a difficult decision going back and forth with Ryan Fitzpatrick or Brandon Marshall. Both free agents that came in this year, I don't think they were expecting the same out of both of them, but Ryan Fitzpatrick has been a pleasant surprise. Philadelphia, Buffalo, 23-20. Philadelphia now 6-7, and Buffalo can't decide if they are a good team or not. They fall to 6-7. So Philadelphia and Washington both 6-7. St. Louis, Detroit, no one really cares about that game. 21-14. New Orleans, Tampa Bay, 24-17. New Orleans, no one cares about that game. Kansas City, San Diego. No one really cares about. Well, I guess Kansas City, they're still in play. What am I talking about? But that game. Phillip Rivers, he had some cojones, fourth down, over and over again in that last quarter, going for the to tie the game there late in the fourth. And NFL, the Sunday ticket kept buffering on every fourth down of mine. It was infuriating. I still have a PlayStation controller, but it was ready to be smashed into thousands of small little pieces. Like that would have made the game come in any clearer, but I'm just saying, bro. So yeah. Kansas City's still very much alive, and in fact, with the Denver loss, which we'll talk about, I mean, they're the 5th seed right now. They are the 5th seed in the wild. Yeah, let's see here. They're the 5th seed, exactly. They're in the playoffs. What am I talking about? They're the other wild card. So yeah, they're very much in it. But Pittsburgh is also 8-5. That's a team a lot of people hear that to be the trendy pick, that they're really going to come on strong, and watch out for Pittsburgh. Carolina. 38-0 over Atlanta. Once again, the Atlanta Falcons are proving themselves to be the biggest imposters. I'd say in all of sports, really. They're getting to that level at this point. Not even just football. They are imposters of sports. Maybe they need a little more crowd noise. Baltimore, Seattle. Baltimore, they just want the season to end. And I don't blame them. Everyone's injured on that team. Seattle, once again, making a late season push. 35-6 winners. They're 8-5. Oakland and Denver. The big green giant, that model superstar, handsome young folk Osweiler. Yeah, he threw for 308 yards, but also, you got to learn to get rid of that ball and not take those sacks. He got his ass kicked yesterday, and I don't think they scored a touchdown, did they? No, they did. Those were just field goals. It was an ugly game. Their defense played well, and Oakland won that game 15-12. Oakland. 6-7. Denver now 10-3. They still hold the tiebreaker over the Patriots, but Denver is now dropped to the 3rd spot. But I have a feeling with Andy Dalton out, and the Bengals I guess they're really not sold on AJ McCarron. They're reaching out to Christian Ponder. Ponder that. So they may, as long as they can win a few of these games. I don't have their schedule right in front of me, but as long as they can win some, maybe they can jump into that number 2 spot. And just pray that New England loses a game, because they will win that tiebreaker because of the head-to-head matchup. Dallas and Green Bay, you can pretty much stick a fork in Dallas. They are done. Green Bay 9-4 after some early season problems. They haven't really looked like a crisp team this year. Fat Eddie Lacy, and he is very fat. 124 yards. Aaron Rodgers, not really eye-popping. 218, 22-35. He gets the job done. They're 9-4 now. And last night's game. And let's go back to Denver for a second. They lose that game, and Osweiler, while he wasn't terrible, there's definitely room for improvement there. Now, with Peyton Manning, we still don't have an accurate timetable of when he'll return. He is standing on the sidelines now, which, I like Peyton Manning, but the fact that he wasn't standing on the sidelines before and watching in a suite, not cool. Kind of a dick move, I'm not going to lie. When do you bring him back? Does he play next week? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him other than, he's getting closer. He's healing. He's resting. I mean, if Osweiler kept winning, then I think Peyton Manning's just going to have to take his medicine. But at this point, now Kubiak's got an issue. Kubiak and John Elway have a decision to make. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, because I don't know what Peyton Manning has left in him. There's 2 schools of thought. He's either really hurt and he's playing like garbage, or that was the real Peyton Manning, and it ain't pretty. So I don't have a hot take for you here. New England, Houston. Houston's offense is just dreadful, and it's embarrassing. Well, they have 7 first downs every time. And I watched that whole goddamn game, because New England's offense there in the second half was not really anything amazing. They had a lot of 3 and outs. So I kept thinking, Houston's maybe got a run in them here. Oh, we'll do this. And just Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer is just, he's bad. All right, I knew he was bad, but watching a whole game of Brian Hoyer is not something I'd really suggest to anyone. 11 for 22, 155 yards. The Patriots pass rush had him in fits all night. I get that. And the blocking from some of the offensive line on Houston was just awful. Just non-existent at certain points. But they took DeAndre Hopkins out of the game. 3 receptions for 52 yards. They got most of that on 1 reception. And J.J. Watt was also a non-factor. So New England continues to roll 27-6. They're 11-2. And for as much as you hate New England, they're the number 1 seed. They're coming from that number 1 spot. So take it for what it's worth. The Giants play tonight and trying to keep their season alive. I'll tell you, if they lose tonight, and you're going to be listening to this on Tuesday at the earliest, they lose tonight, it's pretty much over. They have tough games coming up, and they're going to fall 1 game behind the Eagles and the Redskins. And at that point, it's just going to be they have to play Carolina. All this. I don't want to put the Giants fans on a ledge, but it is what it is. So that's the NFL right now, and it's starting to get. And you notice I'm not giving you my picks. I haven't done them in weeks. It's talk about losing interest in something, especially when you start losing too. I mean, I was on fire in the beginning, and I was chomping at the bit to get on the podcast to tell you about my picks. Not so much anymore. But anyways, enough of the NFL. We got a lot to talk about there that's non-NFL related. Like I said, I wanted to get into Star Wars for a second. Yes, Star Wars. I know some of you may be rolling your eyes. Oh, you loser, geek. I'm not a Star Wars guy. I put it this way. I fall somewhere in the middle. I enjoyed the first 3 movies. I did. I never dressed up like them. I don't go to conventions. I don't do that sort of stuff. I mean, my wife might not like hearing this, but if there was like an Indiana Jones convention that was as big as that, I may go to that. And I don't know if I'd dress up. I don't know, maybe. Maybe like Shorty from Temple of Doom, put the Yankee hat on. I don't know. But Star Wars, the Force Awakens, that's the name of the movie, right? The Force Awakens? Yes, The Force Awakens. It comes out December 17th. And there are people that are, like they do for a lot of movies and a lot of things these days, iPhones or Jordan sneakers. People are waiting outside to be the first to get them. Now, I don't understand this phenomenon. I think it is possibly some sort of mental illness. I don't know, especially for a movie. I can understand maybe for phones. And I really don't, but what I'm saying is there is something that is there. Phones, they can sell out of phones and sneakers. A movie is not going anywhere. That movie is staying there, and that movie's plot and ending will not change whether you are the first person to see it or the 9 millionth person to see it. I don't really get it. Is there some sort of satisfaction of telling people, yeah, I waited outside, I was the first one to see it? Or is there some sort of insecurity to the point where you say, oh, God, there's so many people that have seen Star Wars and I haven't. It's the secret thing missing from my life. So there are people here. Now, I read this. This is from the New York Times. Let's see. 100 people are camped out in the courtyard of the historic Chinese Theater. Now, I guess they've named the name. It used to be something else. But anyways, they're talking to some people. Yeah, we're lining up for the new Star Wars movie. Yes, we still have a very long time to go, and we're not crazy. Debatable. Fellow diehards have waited for 12 unwashed days before the first lightsabers flicker to life. That's nice. And this is another thing. The Times brings up the question, why? Like, back in the day when it first came out, there was only like a handful of places that actually had these movies because they're on reels. Now it's not like that. It's digital projectors. And AMC Theaters has said, at least 36 AMC theaters will run The Force Awakens around the clock. And last week said that 1,600 opening weekend screenings were sold out, but 3.5 million tickets remained available. Why are there people waiting for weeks for a movie? I don't get it. I just don't get it. The second question I have is, what is wrong with these people? Now, let's take a look at this. You obviously have no job, or a job that's so insignificant that you can leave. Forget about your life. Let's just talk about the job first. You can leave it to wait in line for a movie. Think about that. Now let's talk about your life itself. You have no problem living like a modern-day vagrant slob on the streets, like a hobo, like a bum. You know, those bums that you may see in bad areas, they don't choose to live like that. That's where their life has brought them because of plenty of bad decisions. These people are voluntarily doing that so they can see a 2-hour movie. Yes, a 2-hour movie. At night you freeze, in the daytime you cook, but you come for the camaraderie and the chance to be part of cinematic history, said Eric Murillo, who was sitting in a lawn chair near 2 large plastic crates packed with supplies. Oh boy, what was the other thing I wanted to read you here? The system they have here. Okay, yes. Here at the Chinese, the line theater is all civilized. And a sign that reads, "The line awakens." There are rules, though. There are rules at these, and I wish there were more systematic rules that I could read here. There probably are, but I didn't really look that hard. But here we go. Tents must be erected by midnight and dismantled by 6 a.m. And there is a system that allows people to leave for short periods of time while keeping their place in line. Fans take turns managing a clipboard for checking in and checking out. Everyone wears a name badge, and some fans created a line-related website. I don't know what you do there. Just ponder that. Christian, ponder that for a second. That's a life. That's just some sort of like internment camp almost. A voluntary internment camp to see a movie. That's where we've come to this. And, let's see, no sleeping allowed, okay. Yeah, and then there's another thing I saw that people are upset because they are told not to bring lightsabers and, some sort of, gun-looking, like, thing, which makes sense, you know, you really don't want that. Lightsabers, I don't get it, it's just, why do you have to dress up, though? Does that enhance the experience? Someone from the Star Wars, community, please tell me what I'm missing. Does that really enhance the viewing of the movie? Anyways. You gotta see it first. It's like when we went to the moon. We were trying to beat Russia to be the first ones on the moon. I almost think about it. You know, I wasn't alive then. But thinking about it, you know, thinking that the Russians would go to the moon, that's like our moon almost to a certain extent. It's like, Russia has their own moon. I thought about it and I was like, why would Russia go to our moon? We own the moon. Typical American arrogance. We own the moon. But, you know, I was doing some discovering, and this is the conspiracy part of the podcast. I've always thought it was funny. People that say the moon landing was a conspiracy. You know what, though? I did some investigating here. Yep. Putting the tinfoil hat on. I wish I had some tinfoil and make the noises. Let's take a look at this, though. 12 people have walked on the moon. They've all been American. Every single one of them have been American. And we haven't had someone walk on the moon since 1972. Really? We gathered all the information we could by 1972 and said, forget it. It's in the back. Forget it. We've learned everything we can. Let's move on. Really? Is that what NASA's doing? And apparently, I don't know. I guess Russia demanded footage of the spacewalk, and NASA said, "Oh, we don't have it. Well, we erased the tapes. Erase the tapes." And I think some of the people in the WFAN community know about erasing the tapes, supposedly. Well, according to Phil Mushnick, I should say, not me. And that's what he told me when he was on the podcast. Name dropping. I could name drop more. If you haven't heard any of the interviews, been doing a lot of interviews in the show the last few weeks, so check all those out. So let's move on to a new topic. The Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. The fans chose the American Pharoah, the Triple Crown winning horse, which gave this podcast an exclusive interview a few months ago. If you want to listen to that, I think it was in June sometime. Very brief, but I think we got the gist of it. I tried to book him tonight, not available. The guy, the horse is very busy. He had to graze and eat hay and oats, I think. Instead, Serena Williams, I guess Logic, took over when it came to the writers of Sports Illustrated, as they gave Serena Williams, a human, the award for Sportsman of the Year, which makes sense because Serena Williams is a human as opposed to American Pharoah, who is a horse. And animals shouldn't be winning awards that humans win. I think that pretty much sums it up. And unfortunately, I wanted to get an interview with him, but he just wasn't available. It was really shitty. Not happy about that. Anyways, I wanted to touch on the retirement tour trend going on in sports. Now, I think it's sort of started. Now, there's been little ones, but I think the real big one started with Mariano Rivera. He had a retirement tour, went to all the stadiums, received gifts, and we all really, because you got to get the real classy guys who want, or just the all-time greats, classy all-time. If you get both of them, that's even better. Gave him gifts, appreciated everything he'd done for the game of baseball, even if he was an opponent, yada, yada, yada. Derek Jeter joined in his, which was nauseating. I'm a Jeter fan, as we all know. It was nauseating. But I went through the whole season, and, Steiner Sports will sell us anything Derek Jeter related. Could be sweat from an opposing player in a pitching change, but it was Derek Jeter's last 173rd, well, they only play 162 games, 153rd game of his last career. Last game of his career. Just blah. I told you about the stuttering and the misspeaking and all that. It's been a little rusty, man. I've had all these guests on. I mean, come on. Am I right? All right. And now Kobe Bryant is in the midst of his retirement tour, and it is a sad state of affairs. Kobe, I guess, decided in the middle of a game a few weeks ago and told head coach Byron Scott, I'm retiring this year. It's my last year. And he also said something to the tune of, I don't really want all the attention, I'm just saying it's my last year. That's when these guys are just loaded with what, just complete bullshit, because you're not going to announce that unless you want the admiration, the roses being thrown at you, the standing ovations for, checking into a game or hitting a free throw. And Kobe has been an embarrassment so far. I looked at his numbers, and we did this earlier in the year, how he had, he was bordering on the same amount of points and field goal attempts, and that hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's gotten worse. This year, Kobe Bryant in 21 games has 361 field goal attempts. He has a total of 340 points. God awful. He's shooting the worst field goal percentage of his career by far. The worst three-point percentage. I guess out of the 6 games he played in 2013, but I guess that doesn't really count. It has been a ugly state of affairs for Kobe Bryant. And it's not getting any better because the team stinks. And he still plays. I think it's easier in baseball. You can just sort of blend in. And, the Yankees weren't terrible, but they were with it. What makes it even more difficult here is the Lakers are god-awful. And what makes it even worse, throw that on top of it, is the fact that the Golden State Warriors are just dominating the sport. They just lost their first game of the season. You had Rusty Simmons of the San Francisco Chronicle on last week on the Red Ticket Blues podcast. And, he went with the philosophy of they're going to lose every game. Well, he was sort of right. They didn't lose the Celtics game we spoke of, but it was the game afterwards because the Celtics did play a role in it. Let's not kid ourselves. Double overtime. Brought them to it. And it's good they lose. Get this stupid thing out of the way. You got to rest players because they weren't going to rest them in the middle of the streak. It's a long season. Why do you think the San Antonio Spurs have been able to withstand all of this for years and win championships? It's about resting bodies. You can't play every game like it's an elimination game, and that's, I think, the way the Warriors were playing. So it's good they got it out of the way for their sake. But Kobe Bryant's playing in that shadow right now. Let's be honest. He may not say that, but come on. That team is dominating. They just won the championship, and then the odds-on favorite to win it this year. But there's another retirement tour from a guy who said he'd never do a retirement tour, and that is Mr. David Ortiz. He also goes by the name of David Aries Ortiz. He used to have the last name Aries, but how about Americo is his middle name? How about that? Huh? A little slice of America, a little slice of apple pie. And his name is Big Papi or Cookie Monster? We've all heard Big Papi. He's the Cookie Monster. I don't know. Can you edit Baseball Reference? Maybe that seems like something Wikipedia. Maybe I missed the Cookie Monster phase. But He said he'd never do it, and, he's not going to be like Jeter or Rivera. And what do you know? It's a retirement tour from David Ortiz. And I spoke about this, and I don't mean to name drop. I'm being serious. I just had some people that were very relevant to what's going on in sports. I don't mean to be that dick. Andy Kaufman of 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston, and he brought up a great idea. A great, well, maybe not, a little bit of a conspiracy. Not conspiracy. That's such an overused word that's not relevant to all situations. He had a theory, we'll put it this way, that David Ortiz, if he has a good year this year, and let's not be stupid, Kobe Bryant and Derek Jeter were fading. They were fading, okay? They were not the same players they were. Do you look at David Ortiz's numbers last year? He batted .273, 37 home runs, and 108 RBIs. 146 games played, too. That's a guy retiring? Really? I get he's 39 years old. Well, there's always been the accusations that he has an aide there. But regardless, that's what it is. 273, 37 home runs, 108 RBIs. OPS 913. And he's going to retire? Yeah, he still has a whole year to play this year. And he also has some added incentive, too. Incentives. Now, 2017 is strictly a club option. But, if he can make plate appearances and they want to keep him, let's say he has another great year, why would he retire? This is the way it goes. If he gets to 600 plate appearances, let's see, where did it go? Excuse me. For example, if Ortiz finishes 2016 with 525 plate appearances, the Red Sox will need to pay him $13 million for 2017 if they decide to exercise his option. Now that fluctuates from 425 to 600 plate appearances, which can fluctuate monetarily from $11 to $16 million. So, I ask you, well, I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to tell you something. Since 2009, only once, that being 2012, an injury-riddled year for Ortiz, has he not gotten at least 600 plate appearances. Would you be shocked if David Ortiz said, hey, I like the way I'm playing, I've always loved it. This is my wife's line, too, and who is a Red Sox fan, by the way. I want to come back. I'm feeling great. I want to do it for the city, I want to do it for the fans and everyone that loves me, I just really appreciate it so much. I can't leave. Would you really be shocked? I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be at all. So that's I'm not a fan of the retirement tour stuff, and I have a feeling, get ready, it's going to be the norm. I'm waiting for the one guy who announces retirement tour and expects the accolades and the gifts, and it just doesn't happen. Something to be really pissed off about. Probably, people will be, he'll leak stuff and say that he deserved it, and unnamed sources saying so-and-so deserved it, when it was really him just leaking stories to the press. There's going to be somebody like that. I thought I deserved a surfboard from the Angels when Jeter got one. And finally tonight, this is something I caught flack on Twitter. Barry Bonds is the new hitting coach for the Miami Marlins. Barry Bonds is also the game's leader in home runs with 700 and why'd I even give a number? I forget what the number is. It's just embarrassing myself. But regardless, when we all know the deal with Barry Bonds involved a game of shadows, all that stuff. I mean, he's obviously been involved with steroids. He has never been convicted of anything. However, every day he wakes up and he thanks Greg Anderson for staying in jail and not testifying against him. But now he is a man of authority now, and he's not the only one. Mark McGwire is a bench coach. Matt Williams, who we know. In 2007, the San Francisco Chronicle reported Williams purchased more than $11,600 worth of steroids and human growth hormone in 2002. Okay? And by the way, MLB began testing for steroids in 2003 and banned HGH in 2005. He did all the steroids before 2003. Everyone calm down. No. See, this is the thing. I have an issue with these guys doing this. And people said, whoa, Brian, look at your fake outrage. No, it's not my fake outrage. I'll tell you this. I have more of an issue of them being involved in the game than being in the Hall of Fame. You want to put Barry Bonds in there? Go ahead. I don't care. You know what he's going to do? The problems he's going to cause in a big building in the middle of upstate New York? Nothing. Whatever. Put him in there. Say he did steroids. Don't say he did steroids. I don't care. But what I do care about is he is going to be the leader of young men. And I realize these aren't high school kids. And these aren't players playing on little salaries like they were of yesteryear. But they are people coming in and they are still in awe of someone like Barry Bonds. The same way Alex Rodriguez is a serial offender of HGH and performance-enhancing drugs. The players on the Yankees look up to him like he is a god, especially the young players. Am I saying Alex Rodriguez is giving steroids to young players? No. Am I saying Barry Bonds is going to? No. But I'm sorry. That is an integrity issue. That is a moral issue. Am I saying Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez are bad people? Are they murderers? No. They decided to cheat a game. I get it. They shouldn't be thrown in jail. Although they tried to with Barry Bonds. But he lied. But regardless, he is a free man and he was not convicted of anything. Let's just be on the record here. They're going to be dealing with impressionable young players. Oh, yeah, I used to have a hitch like that in my swing. Oh, what'd you do to get rid of it? Or how did you do? What'd you do to improve on that? Well, you know what I did. You think that's out of line? You think that's not going to happen? You think that you think it's a good idea for someone who has broken? Again, these aren't things that they're going to be written on their gravestone. But I think they lost their opportunity. They're privileged to be involved with the game when you violate it in such a, baseball terms, disgusting manner. Am I out of line here? I feel like I'm in the minority with this. I really do. And let's also be honest. Barry Bonds is not involved in this just to say, oh, I really want to be around the game again. I just want to show kids how to hit. No, he's an ego-driven moron. Well, let's not take moron. Okay, let's take that back. Bring back Brian. Let's back it up. Moron. No. He's an ego-driven person who wants more. He wants to be a manager. Are you comfortable with Barry Bonds managing your baseball team? Oh, I am. Yeah, he hit more home runs than anyone in the game. He belongs it. Really? That's where the state of baseball is right now. We're putting cheaters like that in the hands of young men. They are the ones calling the shots. You think that's good? Well, I don't. And I disagree with you. I'm having a conversation with the microphone right now because no one's actually answering my questions. But you know what I'm talking about. You still think it's a good idea. Speaking of other people that like to break the rules, Pete Rose. I was going to say Barry Bonds again. We already did that, Brian. Pete Rose was once again denied reinstatement by MLB, and you've heard me talk about Pete Rose on the podcast before. Hey, how about Pete Rose? Normally we only get the Pete Rose BS once a year when it comes to the Hall of Fame votes. This year we get it twice. Rob Manfred, new commissioner, has decided not to reinstate Pete Rose as he filed an appeal for reinstatement. Here is part of the press release from Rob Manfred. During our meeting, Mr. Rose told me that he continued to bet on horse racing and on professional sports, including baseball. Those bets may have been permitted by law in the jurisdictions in which they were placed, but this fact does not mean that the bets would be permissible if made by a player or manager subject to Rule 21. He also said this. Even more troubling in our interview, Rose initially denied betting on baseball currently. And only later in the interview did he clarify his response to admit such betting. Listen, you can go back and forth and say gambling is a disease or not. I think we can come to the conclusion, though, someone like Pete Rose, and I'm just looking at a picture on my computer. Can we stop with the hair dye? Dude, you're 70-something years old. We know how old you are. We know. I don't get the hair dye thing. I just don't. Your hair's jet black, dude. Your face is melting. It happens. You get older. It's the hair dye on a man like that. I know women dye their hair. I get it. It happens. It's a thing. Men, what do we do? And Pete, you're not in the public eye. If you're an announcer like Al Michaels or McCarver was, I get it, or Costas and his jet black hair. I understand. It still looks silly in my opinion. I mean, I'm starting to get white hairs, and you're not going to see me doing any of that shit. What was I talking about? Pete Rose's hair. I completely lost my. But I think we can admit he has a disease. This guy is a degenerate gambler. He's a pathological liar. Does that mean there aren't bad people in the Hall of Fame? No, not at all. There's plenty of bad people. However, You have to come back. This is the simple logistics of it, and that some people can't admit it. How can you have not have a Hall of Fame without Barry Bonds or without Pete Rose? They're the game's best. Yes, put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. I couldn't care less. Pete Rose should never be in the Hall of Fame. There is a rule. It says if you gamble on baseball, you will be banned for life. He gambled on baseball. He's banned for life. End of story. There is no rebuttal to that. There's no comeback. You're wrong. Again, I'm having this fight with someone who's not here. And I hope I'm winning. Anyways, so that is... Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting a phone call. That's strange, because this isn't a call-in show. Oh, my goodness. He's joining us. So, the runner-up to the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year, Triple Crown winner, American Pharoah, Brian Buckley in New Haven, how are you? Oh, that's great. I know you got to run. Again, you're always running. Real quick questions, I know. Are you disappointed in the writer's decision to award Serena Williams Sportsman of the Year? Hey, that's inappropriate. It's deemed for a person, like I said before, man or woman, not a horse, which is what you... Okay, let me finish. A horse is what you are. Okay? So quickly, are you enjoying retirement? Who wouldn't, right? All right, I know you got to go. American Pharoah, I appreciate it. And you, are you pushing any products today or anything? No? Good? Okay. Thank you for everything. American Pharoah, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. I don't know how I could top that. I mean, that's an interview, folks. Holy Christ. All right. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at Red Ticket Blues. Follow me on Facebook and like the show there. And you all listen on podcasting venues, so what you're going to do is you're going to leave a review because reviews help the show. And I help you, you help me. It's a give and take relationship. I want to thank everyone also for listening, too. You know what? I don't thank everyone for being dedicated listeners enough. And I'm shocked people still want to hear what I have to say. You know, I'm closing in on a year of doing this. So just the idea that people want to hear what I have to say week after week, it means a lot. The downloads really do. And I couldn't be happier. And again, not to steal a line from Joe Badingo, but I want to thank everyone who listens. I could not do it without you, and especially my lovely wife, who is the content producer and editor, she edits, of this show. So thank you very much, and we'll see you for the Thursday talk. And with all that being said, I'm out of here.